We have another Sacramento Kings trade update as the team has had a cold start to the season in the win-loss column, and Keon Ellis is getting coach's decision DNPs to start off this year. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that's also struggling to start off this season in regards to their expectations, are interested in Keon Ellis, monitoring him right now, and they have a specific player that they have in mind to make a trade get facilitated with the Sacramento Kings. So lots of stuff to break down in regards to what the reports are saying, why the Milwaukee Bucks are interested, and frankly, why the Sacramento Kings need to stay away from any more of these conversations with a 10-foot pole. I don't know why this is getting reported, why this is even being discussed. Well, it makes sense because, Keon Ellis has fallen out of the rotation, at least in the last game against the LA Lakers. So things feel like the sky is falling and other teams are looking to capitalize on the Sacramento Kings. Interesting stuff that's going on in-house. So lots of stuff to break down in this video. But again, if you're a part of the 84% of our viewers that haven't hit the subscribe button just yet, and you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with this Sacramento Kings team, the trade updates, the games, the rumors, the injuries, make sure you keep it locked to Kings Digest. Hit that subscribe button because we're delivering daily Sacramento Kings coverage and we're on that road to 1,000 subscribers. You guys have been crushing it lately. I really appreciate all the support we've been getting on the videos. But the Kings are primed for a turnaround as long as they don't make this trade because, again, Keon Ellis is a guy a lot of people were excited about heading into this season and had some expectations after starting a ton of games last year, playing really effective defense, highlight games against Steph Curry, against other star players, just being able to clamp up these other different teams. But now after not getting, any minutes in the game against LA Lakers, other teams are looking at this and saying, hey, the Kings are not using their, young up-and-coming defensive two-way kind of player. What's going on here? Other teams would certainly be interested in bringing him into the mix and getting stuff rocking. That's exactly what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. As essentially, a report has come out from William Nixon that Moxon that it's only been 2 games into the NBA season, but Keon Ellis is being a DNP coach's decision against the Los Angeles Lakers is an intriguing situation and one the Milwaukee Bucks are definitely monitoring. The 24-year-old guard started 21 of 57 games last season and averaged 5 points per game, 2.2 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and had really effective shooting splits. And we can kind of get a cleaner look at his stats here, right, as they kind of brought up. 5.4 points, just solid box score numbers, but the 42% from behind the three-point line is something very, very encouraging. And even though he's 24 years old, Keon Ellis didn't have much of an opportunity across the NBA before that actual stint last season. So this is really his kind of breakout moment, his breakout opportunity with the Sacramento Kings, what he was able to do to close off last season. Those numbers were better as a starter, for this team last year. And frankly, just proved himself as a very high upside two-way guy for Sacramento, and was a guy that a lot of people just were really, really amped up about because, again, there's been a lot of criticism thrown the way of Monte McNair, even though I thought he brought in a ton of talent in regards to players on this roster over the past couple seasons, has made some good decisions out there for this Kings roster overall, a lot better than Vladdy, but basically, the lack of balance out there in terms of defensive talent with offensive talent and just positional talent, because Keon Ellis, it is tough, right? Like, again, Mike Brown should be getting him minutes, but when you have guys like Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, as well as DeMar DeRozan, obviously, that naturally play that shooting guard position, it's tough to get everyone the minutes that they kind of deserve, that they need out there on this team. So I get the DNPs, even though I don't agree with them, right? It kind of makes sense. But in terms of overall roster balance, right, Monte McNair is a guy that sort of, even though he's accumulating a ton of talent, that's kind of the direction you want to go. Starting off, if the Kings want to win a championship, want to make that playoff push this year, right, they're going to have a more balanced roster, a few more athletic, bigger, out there like 3s, 4s that can defend multiple positions, maybe another effective backup center, right? Things that sort of balance out the whole entire roster here now at this point. And Keon Ellis, right, has been a guy that does do that on the defensive end. Not positionally, he's not unique positionally to the Kings, but he's a guy that's a very effective defender. And basically, other teams see that. They see them not getting opportunity, not getting minutes for this Sacramento Kings team, and they're looking to jump in and slide in and try to make one of these deals actually end up happening. And this is where the Bucks, once again, sort of a bunch of reports linking this all together, as Jake Fisher came out and said, Bucks have informed rival teams of Milwaukee's early interest in trading MarJon Beauchamp, who is a guy that was a G League Ignite product and could help the Milwaukee Bucks acquire a defensive-minded wing. So again, the Bucks are trying to improve themselves on the defensive end, trying to get better in those areas, and obviously you want a defensive-minded wing. Keon Ellis, a guy that's getting coaches' decisions, DNPs, but has been an effective starter for Sacramento to close off last year, is the perfect guy that comes to mind. And Marchand Beauchamp is a guy that, the Bucks would gladly try to make a trade for, because even though the box score stats are kind of similar, right? 4.4 points, 2.1 rebounds, right? 40% from the 3-point line, similar age, 6'6", 44% on corner threes, 45% on corner threes. So essentially the percentages, even though Keon Ellis is a better overall 3-point shooting percentage, right? The corner threes, the open shots, Marchand Beauchamp is a little bit more of a, polished 3-point scorer, 3-point shooter, but Beauchamp was sort of brought into this league as a guy that could be like an all-around scorer for the Milwaukee Bucks, and frankly just hasn't lived up to those expectations, especially, and then on the defensive end, he is not nearly the level of player that Keon Ellis brings to that end of the floor. So again, you're just bringing in another wing scorer rather than a wing defender. So making this deal happen, the fact that these talks, that these rumors, that these things are starting to percolate, that these things are starting to pick up for Sacramento, for these teams, it just doesn't make a ton of sense to bring in another scoring-minded wing when you have a defensive-minded wing, and that's a more necessary sort of skill set that the Kings need at their disposal in terms of giving Mike Brown sort of more tools to really play with out there at this team, right? And then Beauchamp is also a guy that's going to be getting paid $4.7 million and $7 million over the next couple seasons. That's double the salary of a Keon Ellis, right? So again, similar salaries for this year, but his money ends up going up for upcoming season. So again, while it's another high upside, potentially, young guy, still the same age as Keon Ellis, just hasn't shown the defensive potential that people would be hoping to, bring in if you are making any type of move for the Sacramento Kings here now at this point. So what should Monte McNair do? Because the team has had a cold start, but I think a lot of it has been overblown. I think this team is pretty solid in terms of, I do think moves have to be made in regards to balancing out the roster, but nothing sort of drastic, and definitely not something that regresses the Kings sort of roster on the defensive end or in these positional things. But, there's a very winnable game happening tonight against the Portland Trailblazers. That becomes a loss, and that's something that could be discussed in terms of anything on that front. But the Kings have had a tough schedule to start off this year, dealt with injuries over the course of preseason. So despite the fact not winning a game over preseason at the start of the year, the games have been very, very close. The eye test shows Sacramento, especially on the offensive end, is looking very, very good. So if there's a world, right, where there's a versatile kind of defensive-minded forward that can come out there that ideally could space the floor as well, Monte McNair can make one of these minor moves, one of these minor adjustments just to beef up the defense out there on this team, right? And that's something that could definitely work. And then obviously maybe in-house, right? If one of these guys like Colby Jones, Orlando Robinson, any of the Jones that are on this team, right, could come out and figure out how to play defense and actually be not a complete liability out there on the offensive end for this team, but maybe that's a direction that the Kings can go, building out in-house and figuring things out on that front. But let me know what you guys think about all this sort of Sacramento Kings trade rumors, trade reports. Let me know in the comment section down below. You guys have best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already.